yeah, we did only talk last week, so it's not like I got a lot to fill you up on.
Not a lot to catch up on, no.
Although the stuff about Batman being poor, like I feel like it's just one of those things where, like I think I said in the text, like for a book like Kick-Ass, for that to be like a realistic vantage point, because like Tinian said in the interview where he's just like, in this day and age, like, you know, you couldn't possibly do this kind of stuff and get away with it because they'd be able to track the money, or they have like his boardroom would have questions like, hey, what's going on with R&D and all this other stuff? Like he wouldn't be able to hide all the money. And I go, my immediate thought is, yeah, but like it's Batman. Like that's kind of part and parcel with it. I mean, how many times do they take money away from Tony Stark for him to get his fortune back, right?
Right, exactly.
Because like I feel like this is one of those things where like we all joke about Batman's or Bruce Wayne's money, but that's intrinsically a part of the character. You know, it's like you couldn't really do Batman without money, because eventually you'd be like they joke in issue 101, they joke about how like Lucius Fox is like, well, you know, if your Batmobile breaks down, you'll just have to fix it. And it's like, right, but eventually he's going to run out of the means to fix it on his own. So then what?
Batman's robbing banks.
Right? Or like he's going the Punisher route where he's robbing, you know, criminals of their money, their ill-gotten gains.
Yeah.
Instead of like returning the money. Like I feel, and like I said in the text, it's one of those storylines that'll happen. It'll be canon. It'll stay canon until the next writer shows up and goes, let's undo this one.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, exactly.
Or the next big event, like, what is it, Future State? I feel like they'll run its course until Future State, and then when they come back from Future State, it'll be a new writer, new status quo.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Jason Todd will not be Red Hood. He'll be a new identity. Damian will be back to being Robin. Tim Drake will call himself Red Robin again for a certain amount of time until they kill him off. You know, new status quo.
New status quo. The perfect circle.
Yeah, you know, because like right now, Damian Wayne's a bad guy. Or not a bad guy, but he's not Robin anymore. Tim Drake is back to being called Robin.
Why? What is DC doing? They change their status quos for the characters like every 2 years.
Well, yeah, but like Damian was pulling a Batman where he had contingency plans on all the Titans.
Yep.
And I think he actually even had a prison as well. And I think he actually killed some people. And Bruce Wayne was like, you're done. You're no longer Robin. Okay. All right, fine. And instead of letting Tim Drake like grow up and not be called Drake, which I hated.
Yeah.
I also hated the costume, but I was like, I could probably, if they tweak the color a bit, I could be okay with it. But then they just say, hey, okay, you can have your Rebirth Red Robin costume back, which looks a lot like his first Robin costume, or second Robin costume, I should say. And then they called him Robin again. And it looks like they de-aged him a bit too with the art recently.
Weird.
I just don't get it. I really don't get it, but okay. Whatever. I mean, someone will read it, and if they like it, great. If they don't, also great.
Also, just, whatever.
You know, I don't like it. None of it really makes any sense to me. I'm happy that Nightwing's back.
Yeah.
I would have liked to not be in the Rebirth suit. Because, I don't know, I feel like that original, or not the original, but the blue Arrow with the finger stripes.
Yeah.
And then the way he had compartments, like in his gauntlets and his boots, I was like that's a timeless, classic, iconic suit that you don't have to do much to update, but because like the Rebirth one, it's too stylized. Like it's just too much like blue grips on the hands, glue grips on the bottom of your shoes, and then for some reason slashes on your leg.
Well, what's that future? What's it called? Future what? That new story thing.
Future state or whatever. I don't mind that suit.
That looks pretty cool. I saw that new Nightwing costume. It looked
Yeah,
cool.
I think it looks pretty sweet. Plus, it suits the narrative of the storyline.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going to happen with Nightwing. Just the fact that he's back and he's like Nightwing is fine for me for now.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see what happens. We'll see what they do with him.
You see the Justice League news about an hour ago?
Yeah, but I only read the title. That's it. I'm not reading anything else. Like a title pops up and it says Jared Leto's Joker in Justice League. I go, oh, okay, and then I leave it.
That's all I read.
Okay, fine.
I read the title and I was like, oh, well, that's cool. I know he's doing some new shooting and stuff. And everyone was bitching, going, oh, see, his cut wasn't done. But I think his cut was done, and he's shooting new scenes to wrap up the DCEU.
Either that or the shots that he had, some of the shots he had were rough shots.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people are quick to sit there and go, oh, it took 20 years for the Donner cut to happen or whatever. But some of those clips, they're literally using like test footage and early so it's jarring to see like Christopher Reeves as like Superman. And then in like literally the next scene, he's like right before he starts bulking up, the suit's kind of hanging off him. He looks really young too. And you're like, I mean, it's cool that they got the scenes in there.
Yeah.
And obviously they couldn't refilm them for a number of obvious reasons. Never mind that, he was paraplegic at that point.
Yeah.
Or quadriplegic. Yeah, he's quadriplegic at that point. But so it's like, so maybe in terms of age too, right? Like some of these guys, we're not that far removed from the movie, but still, whatever.
Yeah.
When it comes out, people will either like it or hate it. And that's literally it.
Oh, I'm going to eat that up. I think I'm going to love it.
I'm definitely going to love it because, I was one of the guys that was saying, like, guys, let's calm down about Batman v Superman. There's a lot to like here, even though I could acknowledge that it could have been better.
Yeah.
Right?
And then the Ultimate Cut came out, and it was just like...
And then you're like, see this? Why didn't I get to pay $20 to see this in the theater?
I know. It was better.
Oh, I forgot to ask you, what are your thoughts on Bruce Wayne no longer having the money to fund Batman? I never even thought to ask you. I'm sorry.
I mean, I don't know. I think it's weird. You're definitely taking a part of the character away from him. But you're also doing something that I don't think's really been done before. So it
there is that aspect.
Kind of opens up a new door of things that, you may not have been able to take a look at before. I really, really like Tynion as a writer. So I'm going to hope that he has a solid plan for it. That's
kind of my thought process is like, if this was Tom King, I'd have been like, fuck it. Don't even. Don't even. I'm good. I'm good. And it's funny because like we were shitting on Tom King yesterday, and I remember distinctly when I first started the Batman run, and I was stoked Detective Comics. That's right, because it was like Tom King and David Finch, and I remember being like, oh man, this is gonna be so good because I liked Tom King on Grayson. But I always forget that it was him and Tim Seeley. And they were both co-writing it. And in interviews, it was stated that it was split pretty much down the middle. Mm-hmm. That this book really couldn't have happened without the two of them together, except for like the last couple of issues. And then I think Seeley started the Nightwing Rebirth.
Okay.
So I was around for the Nightwing Rebirth, which, it's all right. But I think that's one of those editorial mandate comic books, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, getting back to Detective Comics with Tom King, and it was just like one arc after another. And then once you got to the War of Jokes and Riddles, art's fantastic. That Mikkel Janin from Grayson was on it. I was like, yeah, this is so good. But the arc is just like, does anything happen? Does anything absolutely happen? And the answer is no. So his entire 75 issue run, nothing really substantial happens at all. But it took 75 issues to tell this massive story.
Yeah, nothing happened. He even teased the freaking Batman and Catwoman wedding, the whole freaking 40 issues, and then they don't even get married.
Or never mind, they go through the whole thing of having Bane and Thomas Wayne Batman, trying to destroy Bruce Wayne, and then nothing happens. None of the lasting ramifications.
Yeah, I tried the book twice. I tried the book twice, and both times I was like, the art is insane. It's so good because he had that Mikhail Janin, he had Clayman, and then he had what's his name? Oh, he writes and he draws. What the hell's his name? Tony Daniel.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And Tony Daniel is one of those guys that just keeps getting better.
Yeah, he really does just keep getting better. I remember his stuff in the early 2000s and thinking it was great then, but now, oh my God, his art's good now.
The only stint that I didn't seem to like his art on was New 52 Batman. Or was it Detective Comics New 52?
Detective.
Yeah, it was Detective. That's right.
Yeah.
For some reason, I don't know what it was about his art style at that point, but it's weird. It's just that one little pocket, because everything else, I'm like, he's so good. Even I look back at some of his older stuff, on the Grant Morrison run, and I'm just like he's so good. He's so good now, though. Wow.
Yeah, so good. So I was just like, wow, Tom King is so lucky to have this art team, because if he didn't have this art team, there'd be no reason for anyone to buy this book.
Yeah. I remember after I dropped the book, that's when the complaints started coming out about Tom King and how nothing really ever happens in his books. And I was like, yeah, actually, that's right. By himself, nothing really happens. There's no progression, no story, no nothing. And you're like, ugh. And that's weird because he was on that run for so long.
Yeah.
But like I said, 75 issues and there's no lasting ramification. I understand it's comic books and you can just undo 10 years worth of stuff by having the guy be a clone. I get it, there's ways to rewrite the history, but I guess part of it is because he was such a big player in DC, or still is a big player in DC, so much so that for him to actually call out Jay Lee for unsubstantiated rumors, and Jay Lee's like, what the fuck?
I know.
You didn't even come to me. You just started saying this shit. And then Tom King was like, oh, I did this without really knowing all the facts. Ha, my bad. And it's like, that's not a good apology. No. And that also doesn't absolve you because you're wrecking with his livelihood.
And that was exactly what Jay Lee said. I was so happy. He wrote this huge letter out going I got hired for a job. I did the job. I didn't look at the history of the person I was doing this cover for, see what person they were, what they believe in. I didn't look at that. I got hired. I did the job. I got hired for your book. I did the job. You went to DC, said I'm with Comicsgate, and you tried to ruin my whole career. Fuck you.
Yeah, exactly. And now I feel like it's one of those where eventually people are going to start saying things like, oh, wait, you want me on the book with Tom King? No, I'm good.
Yeah.
I don't need to be on the book with him.
Yeah. And all this horseshit, he keeps going on how he was a CIA agent and he knows all this and this and that. I thought when you're a CIA agent, you don't go around telling everyone you're a CIA agent.
If you're ex-CIA, you can. It's when you are an actual agent, you don't tell people that, but it also...
So when you're an ex, you could just go around saying it. So some guy could come and rob this guy for all the information that he knows.
Well, yeah, I mean, you could say you're special forces, ex-special forces. How are you going to fact check?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I remember I knew a girl when I was working at Walmart. and she pulled one of these where she goes, because I smoked at the time, so we're out on a smoke break, and she goes, "Oh, my boyfriend is a sharpshooter for the military." And I went, like, immediately in my head, I went, "No, he's not." Nope. He told you that for sure, because it got what he wanted. But if he was an active sharpshooter in the military, you wouldn't know. He would say, I'm in the military, or I do this in the military, but he wouldn't go, my primary job is to kill people from a distance. Special forces sharpshooter. The phrase was sharpshooter too. It wasn't like he's a sharpshooter. I was like, okay, all right.
Was he an excellence of execution?
Well, obviously. Obviously, he is clearly the best there was, or the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be, because why wouldn't he be? And every time he made a kill, he took his shades off and he put it on one of the poor immigrant kids to console them.
The son of the guy he just shot in the face.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Hey, man, I killed your dad.
But here's some cool
nice shades. Nice shades.
Don't look at the sun too long.
They're cheap plastic. Literally cheap plastic. You'll probably turn green by wearing those. But yeah, so I remember when he would talk about like, oh, I'm ex-CIA and I have all this expertise and stuff like that. And I remember thinking the same thing. It's like, that's an odd way to start an interview about writing comic books.
Yeah.
You could say you're a writer, because he wrote like best-selling novels, I think, or something like that. And okay, great. Like that's like your qualification. You're a writer. Okay, but I don't give a fuck if you're ex-CIA, current CIA.
Yeah.
Like, am I suddenly supposed to go like, oh, well then your commentary on Batman is going to be that much more thought-provoking because of your time as a CIA guy? No. It would be right up there if he said, I have actually, for a couple of years, fought crime in a costume, just like, some of those vigilantes you see on YouTube before they get horribly beaten or killed. So that's my take on how to write Batman. I'd be like, that's crazy. You're going to write a terrible Batman book. That doesn't mean shit. That does not mean you're going to be a good writer at all.
Towards Mark Millar and Kick-Ass.
Yeah, but even then, like what was Mark Millar's qualifications for writing Kick-Ass? He's a comic book writer. He'd been writing it for quite some time, and he's a fan, and he wrote the book that he wanted to see.
Yep.
That's it. That's all. And if Tom King would have said that, like, oh, I feel like this is the Batman I want to see. Now, if that was the case, I could go, hey, Tom, why was this the Batman you wanted to see? This was the Batman no one wanted to see. And I can tell you that because the sales of your book continuously dropped till they forced you off the book.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't like a glorious parting of ways. He was bitter.
Yeah.
I had a story to finish. I had another, and now I have to move it over to Batman and Catwoman. It's like, if it was so good, they would have kept you on.
Yeah. It kept going on about his 100 issue run.
Yeah.
They cut him at 85.
Oh, 85. Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah. And no one cared. There was no petitions to bring Tom King back on the book.
Nope.
They immediately shifted gears, haven't acknowledged anything from his run. And Tynion's doing it.
Yep.
His run is he's doing good. Like, I'm not going to fault him. And like you said, with the Batman losing money, it opens up story opportunities that we've never had before.
Mm-hmm.
If it was any other writer, I would probably be like, but Tynion is good. He's a good writer.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. I don't know.
I wouldn't do it personally. I feel like it's one of those where it's not going to last long. Like I said at the beginning, I feel like it's just going to be the next writer shows up, or hell, even Tinian might, by the end of his run, finish the run by having Batman's money being put back. Like Grant Morrison calls it, you put all the toys back in the toy box, right?
Yeah.
So you leave it relatively the same as when you started so that the next writer can do his own thing. You don't leave too many jarring changes so that so many changes have to be done. And I like that thought process.
Yeah. Whereas Bendis is the totally opposite, where he's just like, oh, I'm going to fuck these toys up and then leave them.
Yeah, but Bendis is in the same boat as King, where I feel like he was 100% forced off the book.
Oh, yeah.
Every book that he was doing, he's no longer on. It's like in fact, his Drake shit was already undone before the end of that book.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very much like J. Michael Straczynski again when he went on Superman and Wonder Woman and they pushed him off.
Although, like in retrospect, the stuff with Wonder Woman was really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of liked the idea of her, like it was kind of like Jason Bourne in the sense where she didn't know who she was, so naturally she would look differently, and then as the arc progressed, she would remember more. So I thought that was kind of interesting. It was a lot more interesting than the Superman walking
walk across America.
Oh, that was so bad. That was so bad. And I like J. Michael Straczynski, and I love Superman. It also bothered me that we got these wicked John Cassidy covers, like amazing John Cassidy covers, and then we get like, no offense or anything, but Eddie Barrows to do the art. I mean, it's not that he's terrible. It's just it's hard to have John Cassidy here, right? Like at least try to get an artist that's close
in caliber. There's nothing.
Yeah.
There's nothing worse than opening a book and then just seeing art you were not expecting. Remember that like Truth Captain America mini that Kyle Baker did?
Yes.
He did the covers and like this beautiful design, and
then
and it's like fucking 90s cartoon style, like everyone's like rubber, like.
That's actually kind of like what I've been noticing a lot lately, especially in mainstream comics, is that you get a writer and you get an artist, and then that artist is on for like 4 issues, and then
gone.
Like actually, the Nick Spencer Ottley, like that one, pissed me off so much because it's like I was pumped to see Ottley's art, and then it's sporadic.
Yeah.
Okay, they got Bagley for some of the fill-in issues, and that's awesome because I love Bagley. But at the same time, then they'll get other artists who aren't as good as either of them, which, it's going to be hard, but you can come somewhat close, right?
And that's how I felt too. I read that Spidey book for the first time in a long time because I fucking still hate what they did with Spider-Man 10, 11 years ago.
Yeah.
And I read it for the Ottley art, and then I'm reading, and it's like issue 7, and he's not on it on art. He did the cover, but he didn't do the interior. So I'm like, what the fuck?
Exactly. And like, they had like, I think it was Chris Bacalo was the first fill-in artist, and he's done Spider-Man before, but I don't know what's happened because this was not his best.
Yeah, no,
this was not good.
He peaked a while ago. I think he's going down now a bit. It's getting too wacky. You can't really tell what's going on half the time.
Yeah, and then recently, I find like Immortal Hulk has been pretty good. With Joe Bennett, it's been pretty consistent. Like I understand you got to take a break and have some filler issues from time to time, but like, or even like if you're one of those guys that takes a while to do a book, why can't you give him like a couple of months lead in?
Yeah. I don't know.
So that way, like by the time it's, issue 6, what?
Yep. I just said
I didn't hear what you said.
I've never understood them putting on slow artists on ongoings. You know,
Or at least without giving him any sort of like lead in. Like, hey, you've got 4 issues ahead. You know, take a week off, relax, rest, right?
Yeah.
And then get back on it so that by the time issue 3 comes out, you're still a few issues ahead. So that way they come in on time. Like, hold these guys a little bit more accountable too, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, like a guy like Ottley he's definitely got like that George Perez style where there's a lot he adds a lot to it, even though it looks like cartoony style art.
Mm-hmm.
So I get it. It's going to take a while. Give him lead time.
Yeah, I just I follow him on Twitter, and people were asking him about because he announced he was leaving Amazing at 8:50, and they had something awesome planned at Marvel right after that. But he was saying he's not young anymore, and he can't do a comic every month like Invincible anymore. Like those days are gone. He said, like 100% gone.
Which I get, and like I feel for you. Although I would also offer up like look at George Perez though.
Yeah.
That guy was doing it till his hands fell off.
But again, like
he forced himself with retirement. But then again, he wasn't doing a monthly book at that point either.
Yeah, and the guy like Perez, he does miniseries and stuff, right? Or like a one shot here and there.
Yeah. But the other point is like if you're, I guess like okay, so maybe he was like, oh, I shouldn't have done a monthly or whatever. Do 3 issues ahead, so that you have the time in between. Like, I love how I make it sound so easy, too.
Yeah. Oh, I kind of feel like he's getting paid more at Marvel doing Spider-Man than they did Invincible at Image.
Oh, so yeah.
I'm sure like doing 7 or 8 issues a year is balancing out to the 12 he did.
If not more.
So
because the other thing, too, is that Ottley is a bigger name now because of Invincible.
Yeah.
So Ottley... before Invincible, if he would have been on Amazing, he wouldn't have been making as much.
No.
So there is that. Like, I mean, and I get it too. Like, I mean, I guess it bothers me because it's jarring. Like in some of these, it's in the middle of an arc.
Yeah.
It's not like you've got your 6-issue arc, then there's like your 1 or 2 filler issues that you could get a stand-in artist for, right? Mm-hmm. It's in the middle of an arc, and then you're just like, so that arc for me loses steam because you expect it to look all the same, and then you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
They got Ottley light over here to finish this up.
Yep.
But anyway, like I said, mini rant or long rant about the comic books. Mainstream comics I find are really rough for having fill-in artists.
100%.
Yep.